Hey everyone, this is Katie Sweetman with Empowering Astrology, and this is another live look at the astrology of February 22nd through 28th, 2021. So, thanks for joining me for another weekly live look. If you're watching on the live, please say hello. Tell me where you're watching from. I tell people I can't travel, so I have to travel through you. And if you're watching on the replay, whether it's YouTube or IGTV or even listening on Spotify, please say hello. So, this week we've got a Virgo full moon. We also are going to see the switch from Venus and Pisces. Also, we have I feel like a Mercury retrograde. How's everybody else feeling? So like I said, we have a Venus moving into Pisces this week. We also have a trine between Mars and Taurus and Pluto and Capricorn. There's a lot of energy going on. I'm just going to check and make sure, yeah, we're moving along live. So let's talk about this week. Let's also talk about the type of astrology I do. If it's the first time you're watching me, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. And we kind of gather live every week. And sort of what I keep saying over and over again is that the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. So how are you going to use this astrology this week? And something else I wanted to point out, and maybe I've spoken about this in different places, but it's kind of related to the last comment that I just made, is that astrology is energy. Let's not forget that. So how do we use this energy? The astrology is a symbolic system. It is an archetypical system that is at least 5,000 years old, but it's still relevant in the day-to-day life. Why? Because we have all 12 zodiac signs within us. We have all the archetypes of the planets within us, even the planets that were discovered in modern times, even the planets that have yet to be discovered, because they represent things within us. They're either conscious or unconscious. So this is why we either use Mercury retrograde consciously or unconsciously. It's not to say that it's not a thing. It's not to say that it doesn't shake things up. I know Mercury turned direct on February 20th, so just a few days ago as I record this. But how do you use Pisces season? What does Pisces mean to you? Maybe some of you are like, I don't like Pisces. Maybe you love Pisces. But every one of you, even if you're not a Pisces, you have Pisces within you. So this is why we look at the sky. This is why we look at the astrology. This is why we look at our chart, because our chart is just an energetic pattern. It doesn't tell me your fate or your destiny. It sort of talks about probability, but you still have to live within it. So just, your friendly reminder. I'm just looking at the comments, see some friendly or familiar faces, hopefully friendly. So let's talk about the astrology this week. So as I record this on Monday, February 22nd, the moon is in Cancer. So something that I talked about in my update today, whether on my newsletter, subscribe to my newsletter, or my daily posting, Cancer is a water sign. It's the archetype of feeling, family, connection, nostalgia, familiarity. Something that I wrote about on Instagram is that I'm feeling a little nostalgic for the trip that I took last year right before the pandemic. This is what water does. It makes us feel. It kind of stirs up things from the past. It makes us long for something that maybe we don't have anymore. Maybe you all are feeling nostalgic today. Cancer is picking up on the energy of Pisces season. Now, if Cancer is our feelings, my feelings, your feelings, then Pisces is the collective feelings. It's humanity's feelings. That's why Pisces, as the last sign of the zodiac, talks about things that are bigger than us. It's not just the individual self anymore. It's all of creation. So this is why sometimes during Pisces season, we can feel a little overwhelmed, we can feel a little tired, we can feel a little sensitive, because it's the season that we need to rest and prepare. We need to sort of look back and reflect on the year that we lived. I might have said this in my update last week, but we're starting to close out an astrological year that began on March 19th, 2020. And a lot has changed. I'm pretty sure a lot has changed for you. And maybe good things happen. As a silver lining, of course, really terrible, terrible things have happened. But maybe you can look back and find that silver lining, that thing that is maybe in a weird way better than it was last year. Pisces is a sign that's ruled by Jupiter. It's wisdom, it's faith, it's inner faith, it's inner wisdom, as opposed to Sagittarius, its sister sign, where it's external faith, it's external wisdom. Now, Sagittarius wants us to search the world for truth and meaning. It wants us to read all the books. It wants us to go to university. When we reach Pisces, we have to find it within. Pisces in astrology connects us to something called the 12th house. It's a little bit of an intermediate point. And I tell people, when you get to the 12th house, which is Pisces' domain, normally, you can't just walk in. You have to find the answers or the entrance internally. This is why Pisces season is time for dreaming. It's time for meditation. It's time for reflection. So these are all things to think about, maybe in your own personal work or your own reflections, your thoughts, your journaling. What does this time mean for you? What is it, dreams or reflections or that sort of internal search within mean for you? So we have a moon in Cancer taking us through the first couple of days this week. This week is a bit low on aspects, or the big news this week, I said earlier, is Venus's change of signs on Wednesday, February 24th. We do have that Virgo full moon, of course, but I think it's important, even when we don't have bigger things going on in the sky, to use this time wisely. Like I said, Pisces is time to rest. Pisces is the sign that connects us to heaven, to spirituality. And I mean heaven, of course, in a broader sense. But something that we're going to be feeling a push this week is between this dynamic of Pisces and Virgo. Because this Virgo full moon that we have on February 27th at 8 degrees of Virgo is an earth sign. Virgo brings us back to earth, back to reality, back to the details of day-to-day life. So there's a sense of having to be in the divide between heaven and earth this week. How do we get practical? How do we make sure that the things are getting done, even though we want to rest, even though we want to reflect? Virgo is, let's say, it's service, of course, but it's earthly service. It's, compared to Pisces' spiritual service. So as we go later into this week, Venus goes into Pisces on the 25th, I believe, so 24th, I said. And Venus is actually exalted in Pisces. It's actually a traditional system that talks about dignities and detriments and how certain planets are better in certain signs. So when Venus goes into Pisces, Venus is the planet of love, value, its connection, its socialization, and it finds its home, or one of its home, in Pisces. Pisces is not just love, it's unconditional love. Venus helps us to look on the brighter side of things, to see people on a much higher level than we could possibly humanly have. This is why Pisces has a reputation for saints in its highest level. So Venus is sort of opening our hearts this week. It's making us feel things very deeply. There's a romanticism to Venus and Pisces. We sort of believe in the higher power of love. We believe in redemption. So this is why we have this one side of Venus and Pisces, but there's also this other side. And this goes back to this earlier point that I said. Astrology is energy. There's the higher side of Venus and Pisces. There's the lower side of Venus and Pisces. The lower side of Venus and Pisces makes us get caught in illusions. We're not seeing things for what they really are. We believe in love, but we miss the red flags. I feel like Venus and Pisces on a lower side, and even when Neptune is wrapped up in the story of relationships, we see somebody on the level of like their highest self, which on their highest self, they might be like this amazing, the potential of a person. But here on reality, it might be a very different story. So I highlight this duality because we all are going to interface with Venus and Pisces in some way. And maybe there's days we kind of get caught up in the illusion of things. Maybe there's days where we really do feel the redemptive power of Venus and Pisces. But this is our work to make this conscious, maybe to see how this is showing up in our life. And then we go later into this week. Like I said, we have a Virgo full moon. We also have Mars trine Pluto. I don't want to miss that as well, because we've had so many planets in Aquarius. A couple weeks ago, we had like 6 planets on the Aquarius new moon. On February 13th, we had 6 planets in Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. It's analysis. It's ideas and information. Whereas, Pisces is intuition. But we still have a lot of planets right now in Aquarius. So we have Saturn is in Aquarius. We have Jupiter in Aquarius. We have Mercury just turned direct in Aquarius. Venus is only in Aquarius the first couple of weeks. And both Aquarius and Pisces are very visionary signs. They sort of see things on a much bigger level. So I think that having Mars trine Pluto this week, I think it's the 24th, maybe Venus and Pisces, now that I remember, is the 25th. Sorry about that. Brain's in retrograde. We can use this powerful energy to sort of take more concrete action. You have all these visions this week. How can we put these visions into reality? How can we move forward? How can we plant seeds in the earth? Mars is in Taurus right now, and make sure that we can grow them and nurture them and have them become something that we need them to become. Side note, I really see Mars and Pluto aspects in people who are really good at sports or have a lot of physical energy. They go to the gym a lot, or they go running or lift weights. So I mention this in case you have a lot of energy and it needs somewhere to go. Maybe you have to do something physical this week. Maybe it's good for exercise, maybe go for a walk. And then Virgo, speaking of exercise, Virgo full moon. This full moon will be on Saturday, February 27th at 3:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very sorry I can't do the conjugation of that right now for the different time zones, but Virgo being this counter to Pisces energy. Virgo says we need to have discernment. We need to see things for what they really are. We need to take the energy of Pisces and make it real. Virgo is a sign that talks about touch. I have to be able to touch it. It has to be real. It can't be a fantasy. It can't be an ideal. So we might be feeling this push this week. Virgo is also the sign of health and wellness. It's healing. It's taking care of our bodies. It's hygiene. It's purity. It's organization and projects. So maybe we're thinking about starting a project or wrapping up a project or cleaning out our homes or getting things tidy but also clean. Like I said, Virgo is a sign of purity and health. Maybe we're using this energy to schedule some appointments, meet with the doctor. But Virgo says we have to take care of our physical lives as much as we are taking care of our spiritual lives this week. So like I said, we're having this sort of back and forth between these two signs this week. Mercury, the ruler of the full moon, it's still in Aquarius. It's actually sort of sandwiched between Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. And like I said earlier, Aquarius is a very big picture sign. It's analysis, it's ideas. Aquarius is also systems. And, systems is a bit abstract to think about, systems, networks, but we all have systems and networks in our lives. It could be our social network. It could be the system that our day-to-day life runs on, our schedule. It could mean the sort of broader system that our life runs on to make sure that everything sort of runs as it needs to run. But it's quite possible that 2020 exposed a system within your life that just doesn't work anymore. Maybe it's the system of having to redo a relationship or redo a career, or redo working from home. So you might be really thinking about the systems of your life. And, Virgo and Aquarius, when I see these energies together, they're very much, I see this like engineers, I see this with people in technology. So there's that kind of precision and analysis with this energy. So I say that in case it comes up for you. But let's talk about where this full moon is going to be highlighting for you according to the 12 signs. And also, side note, listen for your rising sign. And I always get this question. You say, well, which one is right, Katie? And I'm like, both. It is possible that you have these parallel stories happening in your life, both on a sun sign level. Sun sign just means self. Means ego, it means identity. You're seeing and living life from this perspective of self. Then there's the rising sign, this exact moment that you're born, the constellation that is rising in the east. That sort of creates this framework and structure for your life. It sets the time and rhythm of your life, and it also sets the different directions of your life. So you have these two times, unless you're born at sunrise, just a little fun fact. So this week, Aries, this full moon is in your sign of health and wellness. So yeah, it's Virgo's natural domain. So this is a time for you to get real, to get practical, to get organized. Maybe you are looking at your day-to-day life. Maybe things are a little untidy and they need to be tidy. Maybe you need to look at the systems and networks that your life runs on. Maybe there's something going on with friends or community or your social network, because Mercury is over in what's called your 11th sign of Aquarius. It's alongside Saturn, say that fast 3 times. So you might have to make some serious decisions. Now, the little side note, the thing about full moons is that full moons make us take action. They sort of put things in the spotlight, and we have to, make a decision based on what we see. Full moons can be very dramatic. Little other side note that I failed to mention, this full moon is at the same degree as the November 30th lunar eclipse. So this full moon is putting a spotlight on something that may have happened back at the end of November or sometime in November, because eclipses can sometimes be a month before, a month after, or December. Maybe it's bringing, like a thread, events forward. Maybe that eclipse energy now has an activator. So maybe this week we're seeing a little bit of like some twists and turns, maybe something a little dramatic. Maybe we're getting news or information that's pushing things in a different direction. Something to consider. So, to go back to Aries, this full moon is in, the sign that is about your day-to-day life and needing to kind of make some really nuts and bolts decisions that might have a bigger implication for your life. I mean, Aquarius right now is also in your sign of the future, your hopes, your dreams, your wishes for the future. As I was saying, also, Mercury is alongside Saturn, so it might be a serious decision. Mercury is square Uranus, that you might have to make decisions about your financial life, what you value, how you earn a living. And maybe something that I mentioned this, I think, in last week's video, because we had the first Saturn-Uranus square on February 17th, maybe this full moon is echoing something about that Saturn-Uranus square. One foot is in a new life, one foot is in an old life. How do we resolve the split? So this is, of course, this applies to everybody. If you're listening and thinking, this is just for Aries, no, it's for everybody. Taurus. So this full moon is putting the spotlight, in a way, on you. It's not in, of course, your sign, but it is in your 5th sign. The 5th sign is about the self, the self-expression, identity, sort of that essence of what makes you you. So this full moon is asking you, in a way, to take yourself seriously, take your talents seriously, but also how do these apply to your professional life? Because Taurus, you're in a time with Saturn at the top of your chart for the next 2 years. You have to answer a very simple question. What do you want to be? when you grow up. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 80, Saturn is sort of asking you what you want to be when you grow up. And maybe somebody asked me if you can't work, and I'm sorry if there's sometimes we have circumstances in life that prevent us from being able to work, but this part of the chart is not just work. It's the role you play in the world. It's your duties and responsibilities. It's sort of the rudder in a way that you drive your life. So if Saturn's not asking you what you want to be, Saturn's asking you, like, where are we steering the ship of your life? So you might have to get really real about yourself, something about yourself, and also some of the big changes that you're making, because Uranus is in Taurus. It'll be in Taurus for 5 more years. You're in the midst of a total reinvention of your life. So this full moon, in a way, might talk about direction, might talk about career, might talk about the role you play in this world, but in a way because you are changing and you have been changing. Gemini. This full moon is right at the bottom of your chart. The bottom, as you can imagine, is about the base. It's your stability, it's your grounding, it's roots, it's also home and family. This full moon might talk about changes in the home, changes in your living situations, and maybe even a move. This is a natural time when we have a full moon in this part of the chart. There could be a move. With Venus on the mind, with Mercury pointing towards your sign of faith and truth, wisdom, higher education, travel, if one can travel. These days, maybe you're thinking about, what do you believe in? What's your faith? What's your truth? Maybe the sense of the convictions that your life rests upon, and how your vision of the world impacts where you live and sort of where you plant your roots down. So there might be some more serious changes in the home. As I've been saying, for you, Gemini, you're in a little bit more of an existential time. You're trying to figure out what you believe in. The past few years, Gemini, were a little bit rough. You were probably in a very different place than you were in 2018. And so how do these personal shifts, how do these emotional shifts shift your way of thinking about the world and your role in the world? Cancer. So this full moon is putting the spotlight on your voice. It's how you communicate, it's how you listen, it's how you learn, it's how you think. And so you may have to make some choices about your life, or maybe even your education, or maybe taking classes. Maybe you're getting information, ideas. Maybe you are having to talk about, because Mercury is in your 8th sign, maybe you have to talk about things that you don't normally want to talk about. Maybe it's the time you're talking to a therapist. Something that I've been saying for Cancer is that this is a really great time to get a therapist, because you have Saturn leading you through this time in your life where you have to do a lot of deep emotional work and heavy lifting. I'm so sorry, Cancer. It's unfortunately, but fortunately, it is your time to do this work. And as you do that, you might need to kind of give voice to the deeper things inside of you, give voice to some of the hidden motivations that maybe impact some of the choices that you make in life. We all have a shadow, even you, Cancer. So maybe look at the shadow side of some of the ideas and information or the choices that you're making. Also, this full moon might bring some news, so we'll have to see what happens. Leo. So this full moon is in your money sign of Virgo. So this is a time to get really practical, grounded, and rooted about what you need physically. What do you value? How do you need to earn a living? So you might be making some choices in your material life. Maybe this is a time when you're looking, by the way, because you have the sun over in Pisces, your 8th sign, maybe you're looking at taxes. Tis the season. Maybe you're looking at your bank accounts. Maybe you're trying to get your financial life tidy. Virgo likes things tidy. With Mercury over in your relationship sign, some of this stuff might be impacting or is being impacted by your relationships, both romantic and otherwise. So maybe, it could be something about your partner's income, or maybe things that you like shared assets with somebody else, or money you receive from other sources. So maybe you're having to get serious about your financial life because of things that are impacting your financial life from the different partnerships that you're in. This is true for everybody, but especially true for you, Leo. This is a big year for you, Leo, because you have Uranus is in your career sign of Taurus. You have Saturn in your relationship sign. So 2021, Leo, is likely a big year, a time of some sort of shifts, but then again, shifts that have been 2 years in the making. So this full moon just might kind of push things forward. If you're having to make some big changes in your relationships and your professional life, well, maybe you have to look at, what do you value? What is going on with your bank account? How do you need to earn more of a living? After Virgo, I have to backwards in my head. Virgo. So this full moon is putting the spotlight on you. This is a time in your personal calendar when all eyes are on you. Sometimes when the full moon is in your sign, you kind of, something like not happens bad, but maybe you've been working on a project and then you finally get recognition, or because the sun is in your relationship sign, maybe you're meeting new people, and also it's a time about setting off in new directions. So maybe you're having to take more responsibility for things, maybe you're having to take new initiatives. Mercury, your planet, is in Aquarius. It's been in Aquarius for a little bit, just got out of retrograde, which means you're a little bit out of retrograde now. So Mercury is sort of in an interesting spot in the sky. You are sort of between Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn is still asking you to make some serious changes in your life. And with Mercury and Saturn in the part of your chart that talks about health and wellness, maybe some of these changes and maybe these new initiatives and maybe some of the spotlight that you're under has to do with your physical life or health or how you take care of your body. So maybe with the Mercury retrograde, you had to walk back on something and get things from a new perspective. But this is now, how do you now that Mercury is direct, get things from a different perspective? You also have Uranus in your 9th sign, and it'll be there for quite a while. So we can't forget that this full moon, in a way, is picking up on a bigger story. You now have to see things differently. The 9th sign is the sign that talks about your faith, your convictions, your worldview, the beliefs you have, even if they're limiting and negative. So how does the way that you see yourself, the way you see the world, impact your health, for better or worse? So maybe you're having to make some bigger decisions in this time, and maybe it's also opening your eyes. And that doesn't have to be a negative thing, of course, but it can kind of manifest in a lot of different ways. Libra. So Virgo is your last sign. Maybe earlier you heard me talk about Pisces, you told me to talk about the 12th house. This full moon is putting a spotlight on the deepest, most secret inner parts of you. It's spirituality, it's inner search, it's inner wisdom. It's also letting go. This is a great full moon to really release something. It could be something from the past, it could be an attachment, it could be an addiction. Virgo is about health and wellness, and this is happening in the part about spirituality. So there's a sense of having to tend to your spiritual health. Right now, Libra, you're a sign that sort of reverses the zodiac, because Aries is the first sign, but in your zodiac, you are the first sign, so it kind of reverses everything. So in a way, you've got Pisces season talking about health and sort of, your sensitivities and how maybe you're kind of sensitive towards food. Sometimes when I see Pisces, and this part of the chart, and talk about food allergies. But nevertheless, this is a time to really let the things go, both physically and spiritually, that you don't need to hold on to anymore, Libra. Venus, your planet at the time of this full moon, will be in Pisces. So it is a time to actually get very focused on your day-to-day life, to look at your schedule, kind of get things reorganized, to clean things up, to create a beautiful, calm day-to-day life. Pisces likes things really calm. But you do have the kind of Saturn, Uranus dynamic that's happening. And I did talk about this in last week's video, Libra. This is a time when you have to sort of face your shadow self and how maybe some self-sabotage or how this, like I said, the shadow self is getting in the way of you being able to express who you are. And if there's something from the past that's in the way of you being you, use this full moon to let it go. Scorpio. So this part of the chart talks about friends. It talks about community. It talks about your social circle. It talks about hopes and dreams and wishes for the future. So this full moon you're starting to come to a part of your zodiac where with the full moon, they're going to start to go into the higher parts of your chart. No, it's reversing backwards. Sorry. I feel like when I do this, I have to dance backwards. Anyway, so this full moon, recap, is highlighting the part of your chart that talks about the future. It talks about your vision for the future. Which way are you heading your life? Which way do you want to take things? Virgo talks about discernment. Maybe you're going to have to get very granular about the details right now. The details of your life, the details of day-to-day living, the people that are in your networks, and the people around you. So this full moon is also pointing towards home and family. Mercury is in your bottom of your chart. So something about where are you living? Where is the future taking you? And that might mean a move. That might mean changes in your living situation. That might mean not moving, but needing to kind of make changes in your home environment nonetheless. And maybe you're having to even think about the future of family, maybe starting a family, maybe your own family. And also, Scorpio, because Uranus is in your relationship sign, things are shaking up in relationship department. Doesn't necessarily mean romantic relationship, it can mean all relationships, because Uranus is trying to open you up to new people, including new friends, new community, and that might shift your home environment. Sagittarius. So this is the part of the chart that talks about work. It talks about career. It talks about the duties and responsibilities that you have in life. It talks about the direction in the world. So this is a full moon that's putting you, in a way, your professional life, in the spotlight. So this is a natural time in your zodiac calendar when there's a change in your professional life. Maybe you are changing positions. Maybe you are getting a promotion. Maybe you are changing jobs. Maybe you are launching a new project or new initiative out there in the world. This is a time when there's generally more eyeballs on you because the top of the chart is the most public. So you kind of want to use this time wisely. You do have Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, in Aquarius. Aquarius sort of alongside Saturn is talking about these bigger things around choosing your direction in life, but also how are you using your voice, the authority of your voice? How are you speaking? How are you being heard? So this could be a little bit of a dramatic full moon. I mention this because this full moon also crosses the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are what make eclipses happen. And as I said earlier, this eclipse is picking up on the lunar eclipse from November 30th. It was at the same degree. It was at 8 Gemini. This full moon is at 8 Virgo. So Sagittarius, you might be one of those signs that feels like they're at a crossroads. Where are we going? Maybe this is one of those moments throughout the year that kind of feels punctuated for you. Nevertheless, it's a time of serious decisions, weighing your options, and trying to see things from a much wider perspective. Thankfully, Mercury is now direct. Capricorn. So this part of your chart talks about faith, truth, meaning, the external world, foreign travel, if one can do that these days. But normally this would be a time when you're searching the world, whether you're doing that literally or whether you're doing that metaphorically. You could also might be making decisions about your education, from higher education to going back to school, to needing to sort of define what you stand for. What are your convictions? What do you believe in? Maybe if you are a writer or if you do something with the media, this part of the chart also talks about publishing and broadcasting. So that might be something that's also getting highlighted with this full moon, with Mercury in your money sign. Money sign. Maybe you're having to see how your convictions shape your values, maybe how they shape how you earn a living. And do remember, Capricorn, because your planet Saturn is in a bit of a tight square off and on this year, Capricorn, you're one of those signs that's really feeling the push to make some big changes right now. They could be internal changes, they could be changes in what you believe in, they could be changes in what you value, but changes nonetheless. Aquarius. So this full moon, in a way, puts you in the spotlight because we have all these planets right now in Aquarius. It's not as much as it was 2 weeks ago, but this full moon does put the spotlight on your, what I like to call, the eighth room. The eighth room is a room in our astrology house that we have to go through. It's the room where we have to face ourselves. We have to face our fears. We have to face our emotions. We have to look deep within and see what's underneath it all. So this is a full moon when it's time to take your psychological health seriously. If you're not working with a counselor or a therapist, this is certainly a good full moon to do so, to take some healthy and positive initiatives. It's also the time to clean out the psychic closet. What are you still holding on to emotionally? What do you need to heal? What's from the past do you need to let go? So this full moon is also, like I said, in a way, putting the spotlight on you. Mercury is in Aquarius. As I said earlier, it's sort of between Jupiter and Saturn. Aquarius, you are in the start of a new 30-year cycle. Yes, 30 years, because Saturn is your planet, and Saturn takes 30 years to go through the zodiac. So in order for you to move forward, you may have to look at the past. You may have to look at some of the things emotionally and spiritually and psychically that you're still holding on to in order to be able to fully move into this period of time. Like I said, for Capricorn, Saturn is your planet. Saturn is in this square off and on with Uranus this year, 2021. So you're sort of wanting to make some perhaps radical changes. Maybe you're really wanting to reinvent yourself in this new time. And maybe by reinventing yourself, it's sort of bringing up a lot of emotions. Am I safe? Feelings of vulnerability. Can I trust? Are things stable and safe enough to move forward? So that's what's happening on for you, Aquarius. And finally, let's move on to Pisces. Last but not least, this full moon is in your sign of home and family. Wait, that's not right. Do the backwards math. Yeah, home and family. So in a way, relationships. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm in retrograde right now. Hopefully you can forgive me. So this full moon is in your relationship sign. So this is a natural time for you to make some decisions in your relationship life. It doesn't necessarily mean only romantic relationships. It does mean partnerships as well. So this could be about new people coming into your life. This could mean you having to make some decisions about an existing partnership. Is it working? Is it not working? Full moons sort of bring things to the surface. They sort of demand action. With Mercury in your last sign of Aquarius, and it's there with Saturn, it's there with Jupiter, you might have to make some serious decisions about endings. Now, ending's a big word, but Pisces, do keep in mind that you are in a bigger period of time where you're coming to the end of a 30-year cycle. I know, 30 years, there's that word again. So as you come to the end of a 30-year cycle, there's things that you are sort of reflecting on, there's things that you are holding on to, but things that maybe you need to let go. And how does the past shape how you connect to people? Maybe for better or for worse. Maybe you are in partnerships that are not working. They have to be let go of. With the, like I said earlier, you got Saturn, it's square Uranus, and Uranus is in the part of your chart that talks about voice and communication. So maybe you need to say something that you haven't been able to say. Maybe words are coming out, maybe, or even you're feeling extra intuitive. But pay attention to the conversations that you're having around this full moon. Pay attention to the people that are in your life. Pay attention to the people that are coming in and out of your life at this time, because sort of this, partnerships and relationships are in the spotlight right now. I will say Pisces, you do have Jupiter. It's still in Aquarius. It'll dip into Pisces in May. So there's a part of you that's in this sort of liminal transition between lives. So if you're feeling a little like you want to, do something new or move forward, but you sort of feel like things aren't quite moving forward, see where things are at come May. Because you'll be sort of stepping into this new life, although Jupiter will go back into Aquarius in July, but just something to keep in mind. So that is the look at the Virgo full moon this week, and what it means for each of the signs. And also, as I said earlier, your rising sign, because it's both. It's not one or the other. It's both. So that's your look at the astrology for February 22nd through 28th, 2020. My name is Katie Sweetman. A little bit in retrograde, I don't know why. And you can find me at empoweringastrology.com. You can follow me at Empowering Astro on Instagram, of course on Facebook, Empowering Astrology, also on Spotify, IGTV, and you can sign up for my newsletter or, of course, book a consultation. So thank you for all joining me week after week, and I will see you next week. Bye.